again. I'm glad you came back. Because I've got a ghastly, ghostly, ghouly, spooky, spectral special for you tonight. My word, what a mouthful. Anyway, this is Big Nevos Campfire Classics. I'm Mudfish, and we'll jump straight in, shall we? Okay, first up we've got the River Lady. And if this one doesn't, we'll keep the kids away from the waters of Jet Night. I don't know what will. There once lived a lady who loved nothing better than to swim all day long. She lived next to the riverbanks. She loved the river, it was like her second home. She would even spend her nights there, backstroking under the moonlight. She would never travel anywhere by horse or walk there. She would always swim, even to go and pick up the groceries from the local store in the local town. And was always swimming. All the locals had witnessed her peculiar mode of transport and knew who she was. It was actually a spectacle to see. Come sun, she was swimming. Come rain, she was swimming. Even in the snow, she was swimming. This went on for many years and earned her the nickname, the River Lady. Then, early one spring in her later years, she'd been going out for her usual swim when her husband had turned up and told her that there'd been heavy rains upstream, and it wasn't a good idea to go swimming today as there could be a flash flood at any time. But she decided, against his better judgment, that the sky had been blue all day, and she didn't think there was much chance of a flash flood. So she went and took her usual swim. This would be her undoing, because 2 hours into her swim, the sky would darken and the river levels would begin to rise rapidly. She set off home straight away, but before she could even make it there, the sky opened up and poured down a hellish rain that hadn't been seen for 1,000 years. Within minutes, the river had swelled so much it was breaking its own banks, and the increasing current was making it harder and harder for her to swim against. She was not far from home, when all of a sudden, the current became too strong for her to swim against. The river water rose up into a giant wave and came crashing down towards her. She could do nothing but stare as the onslaught came. That wave ran straight through the lady and washed her away. Her body was never recovered after that. Maybe the flood washed out to sea. We'll never know. But one thing we do know is that ever since that day, there's been so many occasions of people night swimming and having experiences where their legs seem to be stuck or pulled upon, only to be left free moments later. Not only that, it is said that when the moon is in the sky and you can see its reflection in the water, if you look into the water at your own reflection, you won't see your face, you'll see the River Lady's face, staring back at you with sorrowful eyes, beckoning you into the water. There's also a saying that if you stand on the riverbanks on a windy, stormy night, you can hear the River Lady scream. But in the end, the river that she pledged her life to also claimed it. And that's the end of the River Lady. My dad used to tell me the River Lady when it was raining or something. I'm sure he was trying to scare me in case it was a flash flood. But to be fair, I never actually seen one. My dad always used to say, don't go swimming after a heavy rain, watch out for flash floods. Anyway, I'll tell you a little camping trip story after the next one. If you want to listen, you'll have to wait till the end. Okay, next up we've got the night carriage. Then after that I'm going to tell you a little ghost story of me and me dad's. The night carriage. Way back in the 1600s, there was a family of carriage drivers who owed a lot of money to a local tyrant. This tyrant was merciless, and he arranged for their carriages to be robbed and all of their passengers to be terrorized. Until the father of the family decided he had enough, and he's going to take matters into his own hands. He decided to load up a carriage full of guns, and when he was robbed, he was going to go on a rampage. On the journey, everything seemed normal at first. They would almost reach their destination when everything kicked off. At least 10 men surrounded the carriage, firing guns and scaring the horses. The carriage almost swerved off the road. The old man climbed into the back, picked up a Smith & Wesson, started firing at the nearest man. He must have took down at least 2 guys before he was shot and injured. When they pulled over the cart, he was still alive. The rest of the robbers savagely hacked at him with their blades, disfigured him until he was a bloody mess, and left him out for the crows. His soul could never rest because of the injustice that was did to his family. So now he spends his time roaming the highways, ringing the bell for new fares. And when he gets someone in the back of his carriage, we assume that he hacks them up like the robbers did to him, but nobody actually knows since nobody ever comes back. But anyway, if you're out hiking late on a country path, and you hear the sound of like an old cart wheels coming along the path, or you hear a bell in the distance, I advise you turn around and go in the opposite direction. You wouldn't want to have an encounter with a night carriage driver. Not like the last couple that took a ride with him. Once he had them in the back, he locked them in and whisked them away to the underworld where he would spat with them at his own pleasure slowly. So, what I think's best is you should just make sure that you're back at your own tents by nightfall. That way you can avoid any unpleasantness in the dark, any encounters with a night carriage, and avoid being whisked off into the night by the night carriage driver. Anyway, that's the end of the story. I hope you're not too scared. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I said I would tell you this story when my dad's didn't have this ghost story. And if you're still watching, I'm sure you must be wanting to hear it, so here goes. Me and my dad had been coming back from the nearest village, which is about 3 miles from where the camping ground is. And it was getting quite late, and I was pretty small. It was our first trip there, so I was only about 6-year-old. My dad had been carrying us on his back because I was tired, and we had to go up a hill. Like a little stairway up the side of the hill to get to the top, where there was a stone wall and on one side, and on the other side was like a little drop that led down to where there was a few trees, and beyond that was the river. Over the other side of the wall, this was a biggish wall. It was about 5.5 foot tall. I couldn't see over it as a child. My dad could see over it, obviously. He was like 6.5 foot almost. There was just fields and then more trees and a couple of barns and what have you. So we're walking along this path along the side of the wall. Actually, thinking about it now, it was probably just him trying to scare me as a kid, but I don't know, maybe I'll tell you anyway and you can make your minds up for yourselves. So anyway, we're walking along this wall. My dad stops and he's like, "Can you hear that?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't hear anything." "Can you hear them drums, son?" "I can hear drums." And I was like, at first I couldn't hear anything. And he's looking over the wall. "I can see soldiers." I'm like, "What do you mean soldiers, Dad?" I'm only a little kid. I'm like, "What do you mean soldiers?" And it's obviously it's dark. It's starting to get dark and I'm like, starting to get a bit panicky. I'm like, "What do you mean, Dad? What do you mean? Soldiers?" So the soldiers on the other side of the wall, and he lifts me up. And he's going, "Can you see them?" And I couldn't see soldiers, but what I did see is I seen the shadow of one guy walking along the wall with a gun slung over his shoulder. Obviously, my dad put me down, and he's like, "Can you hear the drums? Can you hear the drums?" And I was a little kid, I don't know if it was just me fabricating it in my head, but I could hear something like drums or something. At least I thought I could hear something. Anyway, he pulled me off down the path by my hand, and then after a minute or so he put me on his back and read off down the path. He said later on the way back that they looked like Civil War soldiers in Civil War uniforms. But all I seen when I looked over the wall was a shadow of a guy with a gun over his shoulder. To be fair, this could be anyone. It could be a farmer. I don't know, you tell me. Is it him messing with me? Or was this actually what he told me? And I could actually hear the drums. I can't really remember, I was very young. Maybe he just tricked me and my child mind made up the noise of the drums. I don't know. But I didn't see these soldiers, I see the shadow. I did see the shadow though. So anyway, you tell me, did he trick me or not? Post in the comments. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Night night.